Now we will discuss the nervous tissue. And nervous tissue has a special kind of cell known as neuron or nerve cell. About the nerve cell or neuron, you had studied in a class 9th as well. Neuron has a elongated shape structure in which the upper region is star-like, and that is known as cell body. Second, it has dendrites, the long fibril-like structures, and third, it has the axon, the longest dendrite of all. So, in its diagram, first we will draw the star kind of structure. This is the cell body, and that is the axon. This has further divided into 5 branches. Those are known as dendrites. This cell body has a nucleus, a prominent nucleus in its center, and certain granules-like structure known as Mizell's granules. Along with that Mizell granules, it has certain myofibrils. These are Mizell's granules. Mizell's granules set up the electrical impulse in the nerve cell. What is electrical impulse? It is the electrical signal. It is a very low voltage electrical signal which passes on from one organ, from one part of the body to another organ, especially to the nervous system. This is membrane, cell membrane you can write. This one is nucleus, and that is why it is referred as cell body. This part is dendrites. First it is the larger branches are dendrons, and then the fine branches are dendrites. This is axon. Axon is covered by a special kind of cells known as Schwann cells. These cells are known as Schwann cells. The membrane of Schwann cells is known as neurilemma. One prominent feature of these cells is these cells are nucleated cells. So these cells are Schwann cells. And this membrane is known as neurilemma. Neurons are of 2 types on the basis of presence or absence of myelin sheath. Myelin is a protective sheath present over the neuron which provides insulation. This sheath is myelin sheath. Myelin sheath is not continuous beta. It leaves certain gaps in between it. And those gaps, those myelinated gaps are known as nodes of Renwire. ये continuous sheath नहीं है बेटा. This is myelin sheath. And this leaves certain gaps. These are non-myelinated, means that is not covered by myelin. And those are referred as node of Renwire. If myelin sheath is present, then that neuron is known as myelinated neuron. And if that myelin sheath is absent, then neuron is known as non-myelinated neuron. Then at the end, this axon is divided into 5 branches. And those branches are known as nerve endings, or you can say terminal branches. These branches has certain swollen structure at its tip, and those swollen structures are known as batons. These swollen structure at the tip of these nerve endings or terminal endings is known as batons. These batons has a certain chemicals present in them, and those chemicals are known as neurotransmitters. How this neuron or nerve cell works, beta? This dendrite portion is connected to the sense organ. For example, this is skin bache. Whensoever we touch a hot plate, we immediately know about it. How it happens? These dendrites sense that environmental change, that is heat in this case. Then these nasal granules convert that signal into an electrical impulse, and that electrical impulse pass on through that axon to these nerve endings and to the botons. This neuron is connected to the next neuron like this map. These dendrites or dendrites of the alternative neuron is connected to the botons. And if you magnify this structure, this looks like this. This baton is represented as this one. This is the magnified form, and this is the dendrite of next neuron, or you can say dendrite of the second neuron. Now electrical impulse reaches to this point. This is baton. This baton has certain globules which contain the chemicals, and those chemicals are known as neurotransmitter. The most common neurotransmitter in the neuron is acetylcholine. Acetylcholine. You can leave this name as well. For 10th class, it is not very important. So, this is neurotransmitter. This neurotransmitter helps in creating an ionic environment in this gap. And a very, very important question for your class 10th exam, this gap is known as synapse. The only gap which used to connect two things. Usually gaps are used to separate two things, but this is the only gap. Synapse is the only gap in the biological world which used to connect two different things. The baton of one neuron and the dendrite of the other. This combination is connected by a gap, and that gap is known as synapse. A very important question for your board exam. What happens at the synapse? How nerve impulse is transmitted from one neuron to another? So this diagram is very helpful for you. This neurotransmitter comes to this end and release that neurotransmitter, that is acetylcholine in this. Due to acetylcholine, an ionic environment is created, and due to that ionic environment, this impulse will pass on from one neuron to next, from these botons to the dendrites of the other neuron. So that's what happened at the synapse. At synapse, neurotransmitter is released. Due to the presence of this neurotransmitter, an ionic environment is created, and due to that ionic environment, the electrical impulses pass on from the baton or from the nerve ending of one neuron to the dendrite of another neuron through a gap known as synapse. The passage of impulse, that is nerve impulse. What is an impulse? Impulse is a self-propagated, which moves on its own, electrical signal that runs through a neuron is known as impulse, or you can say nerve impulse. So it's a self-propagated electrical signal which passes on from one neuron to another neuron in the nervous tissue or nervous system of our body, that is referred as impulse. The passage of impulses, first the signal is received by the sense organs. Then sense organs pass that signal to dendrite of neuron. From dendrite it goes to cell body. From cell body it goes to axon, and from axon it goes to terminal branches or terminal endings or nerve endings, and from those nerve endings it goes to synapse, and from synapse it goes to the next neuron. And that's how a nerve impulse passes on. This is the passage of nerve impulse in one neuron. But if someone asks you a question between the two neurons, then you have to add here synapse, and from synapse it goes to the dendrite of the another neuron. So that's how this is the passage of neuron impulse or nerve impulse is described. That was also a question of your It's 2017 board exam. In that question, then right was given. This was given as a block, option A, and this was given as a B. Then last is nerve ending. You have to fill the A and B. In A, the answer would be cell body, and B, the answer was axon. So that's how also the question can be prepared for your board exam. Next, types of neurons. On the basis of functions, on the basis of electrical impulse, the flow of electrical impulse, neurons are of three types. The first one is sensory neurons. The neurons which are present in the sense organs and sense the nerve impulse, sends the signal to the central nervous system, that is brain or spinal cord. We will study it later. This central nervous system composed of two main organs, the brain and the spinal cord. So sensory neurons will take away the nerve impulse towards the central nervous system. Second one is motor neurons. They brings the response in the form of nerve impulse from central nervous system to the various organs like muscles, glands, or the body parts which help in responding. To which they are responding? To the environmental change, to the stimuli they are responding. So what does the sensory neuron? They take away the signal from sense organ to the brain. And what are the motor neurons? They take the response from the brain to the muscles, to the glands. That we will study in detail. Third, relay neuron. These are present in central nervous system only. These are related to central nervous system only. That is, either they are present in the brain or in the spinal cord. What they do? They interpret the signal. जांच पड़ताल करते हैं बच्चे. They diagnose the signal, whether that signal is harmful or beneficial for us, whether our body can sustain that environmental change or not. So this is the three type of neurons.